Humans are the absolute overlords on Earth today. If we want to, we can eat all other creatures as snacks. But this kind of good life has only lasted for a few 100,000 years for humans. It wasn't like this in the past. In the past, the ancestors of humans were eaten as snacks by the ancestors of insects, and this went on for hundreds of millions of years. All the animals and insects on Earth belong to two major categories. One is called protostomia, and the other is called deuterostomia. Soft-bodied animals like cephalopods, insects, and lobsters belong to protostomia. Vertebrates such as fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds belong to deuterostomia. It's also easy to identify them. The first blastopore formed during embryonic differentiation. If it eventually evolves into a mouth, then the creature belongs to protostomia. If it eventually evolves into an anus, then the creature belongs to deuterostomia. This difference came about because, when predatory multicellular organisms first formed, there was only one opening. This opening was responsible for both feeding and excretion. Those earliest multicellular organisms with just one opening were called protostomia. There were hardly any cells inside their bodies at first, and it was already good enough to just manage to differentiate one opening. As the size of multicellular organisms increased, there were more and more cells available for differentiation, and they needed to ingest more and more substances, so a second opening was needed. Those that used the later formed opening as an anus for excretion were called protostomia. Those that used the later formed opening as a mouth for feeding were called deuterostomia. That's why it's written in the history of biological evolution that the human anus has a history of 650 million years, while the mouth only has a history of 535 million years. This is the reason for the asymmetry. The differentiation between protostomia and deuterostomia occurred around the Cambrian explosion about 540 million years ago. Whether it's protostomia or deuterostomia, they both have two openings. So compared to other organisms at that time, they both had an overwhelming advantage in combat effectiveness. They quickly occupied the Earth's resources and began to reproduce crazily. The earliest ancestor of humans is called Saccharhydus, the first deuterostomia on Earth. Don't think Saccharhydus is terrifying or powerful just by looking at its pictures. In fact, those pictures are enlarged versions. The actual size of Saccharhydus is only 1 millimeter. Size doesn't mean much. As long as the evolutionary direction is right, there will soon be enough resources to expand in size and strength. Protostomia and deuterostomia were originally from the same family. They were both winners of biological evolution and could eat cyanobacteria and bacteria as snacks. But after they split, they became to separate families. Then there was an outstanding descendant in the protostomia family, called Anomalocaris. It invented the first black technology in Earth's organisms, eyes. Having vision gave it such a huge survival advantage that it could directly eat all other organisms as snacks. Then Anomalocaris began to rapidly expand its size and evolved to become bigger and bigger to facilitate preying on other organisms. Later, other organisms also evolved eyes, but they were a step slower. Their body size evolution couldn't keep up, and Anomalocaris always dominated them. At that time, the ancestors of humans were like this. Their whole bodies were soft flesh, they had no eyes, and they couldn't swim fast. They were good at nothing. Anomalocaris was huge, and was the absolute overlord of the ocean at that time. The appearance of Anomalocaris isn't something made up by later generations. It's because many fossils have been unearthed. Fossils of Anomalocaris from 540 million years ago have been unearthed all over the world, including within China. The black technology of eyes invented by Anomalocaris allowed the protostomia family to comfortably prey on the deuterostomia family for a full 40 million years. However, as more and more organisms evolved eyes, this black technology gradually lost its advantage, so Anomalocaris went extinct later. Then the second overlord of the Earth emerged. Unfortunately, the second overlord of the Earth was also from the protostomia family. The ancestors of humans were still being eaten as snacks. Trilobites emerged 500 million years ago. They were the first on Earth to invent the black technology of exoskeletons. Their whole bodies were covered with exoskeleton. Only they could eat others. No one could eat them. After coexisting with Anomalocaris, they slowly replaced Anomalocaris and finally ruled the Earth for nearly 100 million years because of the characteristic of having exoskeletons. Trilobites left behind a large number of fossils that are extremely clear and allow us to see their whole appearance directly. This is what the second overlord of the Earth looked like. This is a small trilobite. Later, trilobites evolved to become bigger and bigger. Finally, there were even such huge trilobites. Such huge trilobites with exoskeletons were invincible in the ocean at that time. They could eat whoever they wanted, At that time, the ancestors of humans had only evolved into fish that were a few centimeters to dozens of centimeters long. They had no defense against the attacks of trilobites, and no powerful jaws to break through the defense of trilobites. When they encountered trilobites, they could only run. Once caught by trilobites, they would be eaten one by one. During the Cambrian period, countless species were born, and there were countless fossils. However, the Cambrian period is called the trilobite period, which shows the dominant position of trilobites at that time, around 430 million years ago. Eurypterids were born, also known as sea scorpions. This is the third overlord of the Earth. After its birth, it quickly gained a survival advantage. Sea scorpions had extremely fast swimming speeds. They could attack or escape from trilobites as they wished. They divided their bodies into segments, using the first 7 segments to form the anterior abdomen, and the last 5 segments to form the posterior abdomen. They also evolved 6 pairs of abdominal appendages, and became the ancestors of today's arthropods. Unfortunately, sea scorpions were also from the Protostomia family. The ancestors of humans were still being eaten as snacks. Whether it's sea scorpions, trilobites, or anomalocaries, they are actually all descendants of the ancestors of the Protostomia family. The survival advantages obtained through early evolution have been feeding their descendants for hundreds of millions of years. However, sea scorpions were soon eliminated. Then the fourth overlord was born. It's called Camarasaurus. Camarasaurus not only had a huge and hard shell, but also extremely powerful tentacles. It also evolved an extremely powerful beak. This beak had the function of breaking through armor, and could directly smash the exoskeleton armor of Earth's organisms at that time, and then enter their bodies to feed. Moreover, this thing was more than 10 meters long. Being the first to invent the black technology of breaking through armor gave Camarasaurus a huge survival advantage. Unfortunately, Camarasaurus was also a descendant of the Protostomia family. The only comforting thing is that the targets of Camarasaurus attacks were basically other members of the Protostomia family. The competition for the overlord of the Earth was an internal war within the Protostomia family. The ancestors of humans weren't worth Camarasaurus' effort to evolve to target them. For 4 consecutive generations, the overlords of the Earth were all from the Protostomia family. The legacy of their ancestors was so powerful in the evolutionary path of organisms. If you're one step behind, you'll be behind at every step. But around 251.4 million years ago, the Earth experienced the Permian-Triassic mass extinction event. An extremely powerful gamma ray burst destroyed the Earth's environment, causing the Earth's temperature to drop sharply. As high as 96% of marine organisms went extinct. When did trilobites go extinct? Their fossils disappeared around 240 million years ago. When did sea scorpions go extinct? Their fossils disappeared around 250 million years ago. When did Camarasaurus go extinct? Their fossils disappeared around 250 million years ago. This mass extinction event completely changed the living environment on Earth. The evolutionary advantages accumulated over hundreds of millions of years before disappeared completely because the previous evolutionary directions were all wrong and were no longer suitable for the current environment. All organisms on Earth had to re-evolve according to the current environment. Then the ancestors of humans turned things around. In the past more than 200 million years, the Protostomia family was the powerful and had been eating the ancestors of humans as snacks. The ancestors of humans had neither skills nor a place to live. They could only survive by running away. There were thousands of ways to escape. One of them chose to evolve the nervous system, to continuously enhance its sensitivity, and strengthen the ability to escape. They also specifically evolved a bunch of bones to form a spine, to strengthen the ability to control the nerves. This is the chordata. Continuously strengthening the nervous system didn't bring much survival advantage at first. After all, if you couldn't win in a fight, you just could run away a bit faster at most. But when the living environment on Earth changed greatly, and everyone needed to re-evolve, the advantage of a highly developed nervous system emerged. They adapted faster than others. Soon, chordata became the overlord of the Earth, took the lead in occupying the Earth's resources, and reproduced a large number of offspring. Taking advantage of this slight first-mover advantage, the ancestors of humans evolved myelin sheaths, composed of phospholipids. This increased the speed of nerve signal conduction from 2 meters per second to 100 meters per second, creating the 5th black technology in the history of Earth's biological evolution. This black technology is even more terrifying than the previous for combined, because it means that the body's reaction speed has increased by 50 times. They could really eat whoever they wanted. When the body size was small, the difference between a reaction speed of 2 meters per second and 100 meters per second wasn't that big. But once the body size became larger, this difference was huge. Since small creatures couldn't beat big ones, the fish with myelin sheaths quickly grew bigger and became giants, crazily eating other organisms. The organisms that evolved this black technology not only ruled the Earth themselves, but also had all the later overlords of the Earth as their descendants, and Protostomia gradually became food. After this hundreds of millions of years long survival competition, the Chordata lineage of Deuterostomia finally won. Later, the successive overlords in the ocean were all from Chordata. The competition for the position of the overlord was an internal war within Chordata. There was no possibility for other organisms to interfere. Later, as we all know, some fish suffered a crushing defeat in the internal competition in the ocean and couldn't survive being eaten. They were forced to go ashore to find a way to survive. Unfortunately, these fish that couldn't survive being eaten were the ancestors of humans. Then these fish evolved into various organisms on land, including the once overlord of the Earth, dinosaurs. Unfortunately, the ancestors of humans were the ones that dinosaurs ate, one by one, crunchily. But 65 million years ago, a meteorite fell from the sky onto the Earth, severely damaging the Earth's living environment and causing a large number of organisms to go extinct. Everyone was forced to re-evolve according to the new environment. The ancestors of humans, mammals, were chased and eaten by dinosaurs for tens of millions of years. In order to escape, they were forced to evolve complex cortical folds and developed another black technology. When dinosaurs were around, this black technology wasn't very useful, but once they needed to re-evolve, mammals with complex brains had a unique advantage. They adapted faster than others. Then mammals replaced Chordata and became the overlord of the Earth. Since then, all the overlords of the Earth have been mammals. Mammals belong to Chordata, but they are just a branch of Chordata. 5 million years ago, Australopithecus emerged, with an average brain capacity of 415 milliliters. 200,000 years ago, Homo erectus emerged, with an average brain capacity of 826 milliliters, and learned to use fire. 30,000 years ago, Homo sapiens emerged, with an average brain capacity of 1,250 milliliters, and learned to make complex tools. Modern humans have evolved a brain capacity of 1,400 to 1,650 milliliters. Since the emergence of Homo erectus, the overlord of the Earth has belonged to humans. The terrifying Homo erectus could eat all other organisms on Earth as snacks. And up to now, the competition for the overlord of the Earth has been an internal war among humans. Other organisms can no longer interfere. A new branch has emerged among Earth's organisms, humans. Humans have formed a separate branch on their own. The brain capacity has evolved from 400 milliliters to 1,600 milliliters. Every increase of 100 milliliters in brain capacity actually means a major reshuffle of the entire human world. It's cruel, but this is evolution. The ancestors of humans were eaten as snacks by others for hundreds of millions of years. It was only by taking advantage of a mass extinction event on Earth that they turned things around and then gave their descendants the right to monopolize the position of the overlord of the Earth. And the descendants of the Protostomia family, which used to eat as snacks, the ancestors of humans, now aren't even qualified to be eaten as snacks by humans. They are only worthy of being eaten by Chordata, and humans eat Chordata as snacks. This is what the weak are prey to the strong means. This is the hundreds of millions of years long evolutionary history of Earth, which fully reflects this unshakable truth.